I'm the child in the overbearing CEO's. Lover runs away with the baby. My biological mother got pregnant with me on her own using the essence from the condom the overbearing CEO had discarded. 3 years later, she carried me to the CEO's engagement ceremony and asked me to recognize my father. She put it nicely, saying, "A child can't grow up without a father." Right in front of everyone, I dropped to my knees, tears streaming down my face. "Please, is there a kind-hearted person who can send me to the orphanage during the 3 years since I reborn into this child's body? I haven't had a single full meal." The overbearing CEO flew into a rage and wanted to drive my mother and me away, but his pure-looking fiancée picked me up from the ground and forcefully adopted me. She casually said to my biological mother, "I really like your daughter. From now on, she's mine." Later, I was lying leisurely in the CEO's villa, watching SpongeBob SquarePants with my legs crossed. Suddenly, my biological mother showed up. "Mommy's here to take you away. You must have suffered a lot staying here." I was completely dumbfounded and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Help! Someone's trying to kidnap a child." My new mom, the pure-looking lady, walked out of the kitchen with a knife. "I'd like to see who dares to snatch my daughter. Baby, remember to be polite when you see Daddy later. Do you remember what Mommy taught you?" My biological mother, Tang Shusher, looked at me expectantly and squatted down. I flashed a big smile and said in a childish voice, "I have to call him Daddy and say that baby misses Daddy. Baby can't grow up without Daddy. Daddy mustn't get engaged to the bad woman. We're supposed to be a family of 3. Tang Shusher nodded in satisfaction. Then she picked me up and sneaked into the crowd, looking at her exquisitely made-up profile. I tried my best to suppress the ecstasy in my heart. "Still calling me baby. After today, I'll make sure you never see me again." She talks about loving me, but she's just using me as a tool to get close to the overbearing CEO. She's always daydreaming about saving the overbearing CEO and sees his fiancée as a dragon. How shameless. And I'm already 3 years old. She didn't even give me a name. Register me for Huku, and I haven't even had enough to eat. If I stay with this biological mother any longer, I'm doomed. Tang Shusher led me, turning and dodging, breaking through layer after layer of security, and burst into the engagement scene. She let out a shrill cry. I object. The warm and festive atmosphere at the scene was instantly shattered. The overbearing CEO, Fu Tingshin, looked at her coldly. His eyes were filled with disgust. "Security, take this woman away." The security guards beside him immediately stepped forward, taking advantage of the chaos. I tried to struggle out of Tang Shusher's arms. Tang Shusher tightened her grip and shouted loudly, "Tingshan, you can't treat me like this. The baby is your daughter. We're a family of 3. You can't marry this woman. The baby is still young. She can't grow up without a father." As soon as she finished speaking, the scene erupted into chaos. People were whispering to each other, seemingly trying to judge the truth of her words. The woman standing in the middle of the flower finally moved as the female protagonist of today's engagement ceremony. She spoke up to stop the security guards. "Let go of this lady first. I'm very interested in what she has to say. I want to hear her out." Fu Tingshin panicked immediately. He grabbed his fiancée Lin Xiao's hand and quickly explained, "Xia, you're the only one in my heart. From the bottom of my heart to my body, I belong only to you. Don't you trust me at this moment?" He was nothing like the cold and heartless person he was just now. He was like a big dog, afraid of being disliked by its owner after getting caught in the rain. Jealousy flashed in Tang Shusher's eyes. She put me on the ground and, suppressing her resentment, said, "Have you forgotten what Mommy taught you? Drive the bad woman away, and we can be a family with Daddy. She's the one who snatched your daddy from me." She pushed me forward. My thin body was a bit unsteady. I stumbled forward. When I was sure that everyone's eyes were on me, I dropped to my knees right in front of everyone, tears streaming down my face. "Please, is there a kind-hearted person who can send me to the orphanage?" I grabbed the sleeve of an old lady who looked extremely wealthy. Without caring who she was, I burst into tears. I carefully rolled up my sleeve in front of the old lady. What she saw wasn't a chubby baby-like arm, but a skinny, emaciated one due to hunger. There were also bruises all over it, which clearly showed that I had been severely abused. Tears in my eyes fell one after another, forming a continuous stream. I'm really fed up with this kind of life. During the 3 years since I transmigrated into this body, I haven't had a single full meal. When I was 2 years old and dizzy from hunger, I begged for a mouthful of rice paste from a neighbor. My biological mother threw it away immediately. She said, "Baby, we have hands and feet. We should earn our own living. We can't take food given as charity." Then why didn't she give me anything to eat? She started hitting me right after I was born. She pricked me with a thin needle so that no wounds would be left. She was muddle-headed. Whenever something went wrong or she was bullied outside, she took it all out on me. She mumbled, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have left my hometown and couldn't go back. It's all your fault. If you cry anymore, I'll suffocate you." Of course, she wouldn't suffocate me. I was her ticket to a better life. She would take the pillow away just when I was almost out of breath. She told me again and again about her encounter with the overbearing CEO. The ambiguous glances and hesitant expressions of the CEO were all supposed to show his love for her. But before this love could fully blossom, and the two of them could confess their feelings, the damned woman she talked about intervened and ruined everything. The CEO was forced to fire her. She could tell that the CEO was reluctant. She decided to save him and give birth to a child for him. She hated me, the child she gave birth to, because I had a blood connection with the CEO, a bond that she couldn't break and desperately wanted. So, she hurt me again and again. I was her bargaining chip, her rival in love, and a thorn in her side. Watching me cry and wail, she had a satisfied look on her face. "Remember, in the future, your daddy will only love me." When I was 2 years old, my body was contorted with pain, but I still obediently replied, "Mommy, Daddy is yours alone." Only then would she stop, satisfied. She thought that since children were too young to remember anything before the age of 3, it didn't matter how she hurt me. She could train me like a dog, but I remembered everything. Although I don't know how I died in my previous life, I don't want to be abused to death in this life. If I stay with her any longer, I'm sure to die young. Grandma, please save me. Find someone to adopt me or send me to the orphanage. Good people will be rewarded. Please save me. I clung to the lifeline in front of me, kowtowing desperately. This was my only chance. The overbearing CEO, Fu Tingxin, surely sees me as a stain and an enemy. He wishes I would disappear. He definitely won't help me. The grandma in front of me looks kind-hearted. She's dressed in jewels and sitting in the front row. Her words must carry a lot of weight. I count out hard, afraid that she wouldn't help me. If I fall back into Tang Shershur's hands, I'm sure to lose my life. Over the past 3 years, I tried to seek help, but no one took the words of a child seriously. Each attempt at asking for help only brought more severe abuse. I felt like I was being swallowed up by the darkness. I don't even understand why the god of transmigration sent me here, but I don't want to die. I want to live, even if it means scavenging for food. As long as I'm alive. Suddenly, I was lifted into the air and fell into a warm and soft embrace. With tears still on my face, I looked back in surprise at the person who had picked me up. It was actually Lin Xiaoyu, the CEO's fiancée. Wasn't she the one who hated me the most at the scene? I was a stain on her fiancé, and my biological mother had ruined her engagement ceremony, trying to use me to interfere. Why did she pick me up? I was dirty with snot and tears all over my face while she was wearing a white wedding-like dress as beautiful as a fairy. Lin Xiaoyu wiped the tears from my face and cooed softly, "Be good. Don't be afraid. I'm here. No one can hurt you." She held me close. I stared blankly and put my hands around her neck, not quite understanding what was going on. This wasn't what I had expected. "Let go of the baby. This is my child. You snatched Tingxin. And now you want to snatch my child, too." Tang Shershur rushed forward, teeth bared. Lin Xiaoyu suddenly turned around expressionless and kicked Tang Shershur flying with one foot. I was stunned. Kick her well. I've been kicked much worse than this. The huge bruise took a long time to fade. Tang Shusher was immediately restrained by the security guards. Facing this series of changes, Fu Tingxin rushed to Lin Xiaoyi's side to protect her and warned Tang Shusher, "Are you done being crazy? You've always been abnormal. I never knew what was going on in your mind. Now you even dare to ruin my engagement ceremony." But Tang Shusher looked at Fu Tingxin with deep affection and said, coquettishly, "Tingshan, I'm here. Don't be afraid. I know you were forced." Fu Tingxin was even angrier after hearing this. He pressed his lips tightly together, and the warmth in his eyes gradually faded. He looked at her as if she were a dead person. Lin Xiaoyu pushed Fu Tingxin aside and walked straight up to Tang Shusher. She casually pinched Tang Shusher's chin, stared at her resentful and distorted face, and said casually, "I really like your daughter. From now on, she's mine." Tang Shi was so furious that her face turned red. She tried desperately to break free from the security guard's hold. "Impossible. The baby is my child. I'm her only mother. Give up this idea, baby." Hearing Tang Shusher's call, I immediately buried my head in Lin Xiao's arms. Whoever wants such a vicious mother can have her. I only have one life. Once I'm dead, it's over. Lin Xiaoyu saw my actions and laughed. Her chest trembled slightly. She hugged me tightly, even rubbing her cheek against mine. "I'll treat you well." Then she stood up and walked towards the middle of the flower sea. After a slight pause, she left a sentence. "Since you're here, you're a guest. Welcome to witness my engagement ceremony with Tingxin." Tang Shusher's heart-rending roar came from behind. I watched quietly as her face twisted with her hair hanging on her cheeks in a ferocious manner. Lin Xiaoyu nodded, and the music beside them started playing. She walked up to Fu Tingxin, held me with one hand, and extended the other hand to Fu Tingxin. Fu Tingxin took Lin Xiaoyi's hand, and they returned to the middle of the flower sea. Applause rang out. Amidst the blessings of everyone, the two embraced, and I was standing beside them. Aunt Xiaoyu brought me back to the home she shared with Fu Tingxin, huddled in her arms. I asked timidly, "Auntie, won't I have to go back to my mother's side?" Aunt Shou stroked my little head. "Would you like to live with Auntie from now on? Auntie will treat you extremely well." After getting an affirmative answer, I nodded vigorously. During the few hours of getting along, I had already figured out the way this new family operated. At the top of the pyramid in this family was Aunt Xiaoyu. President Fu was completely devoted to Aunt Shou, although Aunt Shou had a delicate face and looked like a delicate flower in the wind, arousing pity. She was far from as fragile as she seemed. She was a master at keeping emotions in check. She handled the situation at the engagement banquet so smoothly and got engaged without being affected. Even after the engagement, she saw off the guests, took me and President Fu to do a DNA test right away before going to bed, knowing that I was staying in someone else's house. I wanted to be a well-behaved child. At the very least, I wanted to say goodnight to Aunt Shou, who had saved me from misery. I walked with my short legs to look for Aunt Shou, wearing the new clothes Aunt Shou had given me that evening. It was the first time I had ever worn such soft clothes. Unfortunately, the house was so big that I got lost after just a few steps. I politely tugged at the sleeve of the butler. "Hello, I'm looking for Aunt Shou." "Okay, young miss." The butler picked me up and quickly carried me to the door of the study. I thanked him very politely and was about to knock on the door and go in. But the study door wasn't closed tightly. There was a crack, and I could faintly hear arguing inside. They were talking about me. "Fu Tingxin, what do you mean? Don't you want to take care of this child?" And Xiao Yu's angry, questioning voice came through the crack. Fu Tingxin seemed to be trying to soothe her. "Xiao Yu, that's not what I mean. Look at her biological mother, Tang Shusher. She stole a condom from back then and gave birth to her. Now she's here. Clearly, she has ulterior motives. That woman is crazy. The child is still young, but she's like a time bomb between us. As long as she's here, Tang Shusher will have an excuse to interfere in our lives." He looked at Aunt Shou, his lips pressed tightly together, showing no sign of backing down. "I won't allow any threat to our relationship. I can send her far away and arrange for someone to take care of her. If you really can't bear to part with her, We can listen to Hamu's advice and send her to grandma's. He was raised by grandma and turned out fine. We can visit her whenever you want, but you mustn't raise her yourself. I know you feel sorry for the child, but you also need to be rational. She lived with her biological mother for so long. She's bound to be influenced. Before Fu Tingxin could finish, I heard a commotion through the crack. I saw Aunt Xiaoyu pushed Fu Tingxin. Aunt Xiao's hands were trembling, slightly. She lowered her head, and I couldn't see her expression. At this moment, she seemed to be extremely stimulated. Her reaction was very intense, completely different from the calmness she showed when facing a crisis during the day. Do you mean that if the biological parents are bad, the child must be bad, too? She clenched her hands tightly, her knuckles turning white. Her voice was low with a hint of self-mockery. So, this is what you've always thought of me. Fine, I'll take her away. You don't have to recognize her. I will. She turned her head away, no longer looking directly at Fu Tingxin. Although her back was towards me, I could still sense her sadness and despair. She seemed to be trapped in a thick cloud of darkness, sinking deeper and deeper. Fu Tingxin reached out and pulled Aunt Xiaoyu into his arms. His calm facade was instantly shattered, replaced by regret. I'm sorry, Xiaoyu. It's all my fault. I spoke out of turn. I've never thought that way. In my eyes, you're my life. I won't mention it again. Well, raise her. We won't send her away. Aunt Xiaoyu choked up and said, she's so little, yet there are countless injuries all over her body. You know exactly what I've been through and what she's been through. Tears fell from Aunt Xiaoyu's eyes and landed on the carpet. You mentioned Himu, but do you really understand? I looked down at the little bear pajamas I was wearing. They were soft and comfortable, but they didn't belong to me. I have a good memory. I went back to my room along the way I came, rummaged through the laundry basket, took out my dirty clothes, and put them on. Then I walked back to the door of the study with my short legs and knocked on the door. Aunt Shou, Mr. Fu, please don't quarrel because of me. I smiled brightly. It would be fine if you send me to the orphanage. I can take care of myself. Compared to being abused by my biological mother, life in the orphanage will definitely be much better. Aunt Xiaoyu was stunned for a moment, and then she rushed over and hugged me. She held me tightly, her body trembling, but she forced her voice to remain steady. Fu Tingxin, I don't need you to take care of the child. I can take care of her by myself. The tears on her face with the carpet. She tried to keep calm, but couldn't hold back her tears. You know that when I see her, I think of myself. She's still so young and doesn't understand anything. Do you want her to go through what I went through all over again? Her voice trembled, as if she was thinking of some dark experience. After a long time, she calmed down. Forget it. Let it be. Maybe I shouldn't have told you in the first place. You'll never understand. I was asking for too much. She wiped the tears from her face, picked me up, and turned to leave. Fu Tingxin panicked immediately. In a hurry, not knowing what to say, he knelt down on one knee. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. No matter what, if you want to raise her, we can raise 10 children if you like. He pitifully tugged at the corner of Aunt Xiao's clothes. The child can't grow up without a father. I was so scared that I was stunned. I just wanted the two of them to make up. How could it turn out like this? Please don't break up because of me. I'm just a child. I can't bear such a great sin. They are kind-hearted and beautiful. Don't let my biological mother and me, these two monsters, ruin their relationship. And show you, Mr. Fu knows he's wrong. I pleaded for Fu Tingxin in a low voice. Fu Tingxin said gently, don't call me Mr. Fu. It's too distant. Good child. Call me Daddy. Hurry up and soothe your aunt. Our family of 3 just got together today. We can't break up. Under Mr. Fu's expectant gaze, I called out, Daddy. Mr. Fu immediately acknowledged it. Yes, what a good daughter. Then he pointed at Aunt Xiaoyu with his finger, signaling me. I gently kissed Aunt Xiaoyu on the cheek. Her cold face was like the thawing of spring water, with everything coming back to life. Aunt Xiaoyu, shall we stay with Daddy? Aunt Xiaoyu didn't say anything and buried her head in the crook of my neck. After a long time, she said softly, Okay, well, stay together. The newly promoted Daddy, Fu, took me from Aunt Xia's arms. Shou, I'll send her to bed first. The child is still young and needs to rest early. I obediently said good night to Aunt Xiao. Good night, Auntie. I waved my little hand, and Aunt Xiao also smiled and said, good night. On the way, I put my arms around Daddy's neck and whispered in his ear, Mr. Fu, please send me to the orphanage. I really mean it. Fu Tingxin immediately begged for mercy. Ancestor, I beg you not to mention this again. I just atoned for my sins, and you're bringing it up again. Are you trying to kill me? I looked at his exaggerated reaction and emphasized again, afraid that he would think I wasn't sincere. I really don't mind. I don't want to ruin the relationship between you and Aunt Xiaoyu. You're both very kind. Although Fu Ting wanted to send me away, it was only natural. Who would like a child who suddenly showed up at the engagement ceremony out of nowhere? He was also kind enough to say that he would find someone to take care of me, and I was already very content. Aunt Xiaoyu is also kind and warm, but I can't take advantage of her kindness. Fu Tingxin's expression suddenly softened. He rubbed my head with his hand and said casually, you're still a 3-year-old child. Your biggest worry should be which cartoon to watch, what snacks to eat, and who your best friends are. Don't think too much about adult matters. Just be obedient. He tucked me into bed and continued, from now on, I'll be your daddy and Xiaoyu will be your mommy. Remember that. I nodded, hugging the little bear doll he gave me. He looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction. What a good child. Go to sleep early. I'll go and give you a name. Looking at the dim little mushroom lamp by the bedside, I was really too tired and soon fell into a deep sleep. There was no tangers, no sharp needles, no beating or scolding, and I didn't have to worry about being hungry. Such a life is really good. The next day, I was lifted out of the bed before the sun even shone on my buttocks. Fu Yeshing, wake up. There's something important to do today. Daddy patted my back, trying to make me less dazed. Fu Yeshing, who is this? Seeing that I wasn't awake yet, Daddy pinched my cheek. Fu Yeshing, why are you such a heavy sleeper? You're like a little pig. It seemed that he was calling me. I looked at the child with messy hair in the mirror and smiled. Hello, you have a name now. Your name is Fu Yeshing. I happily washed up and put on a new dress. In the 3rd year since I transmigrated into this body, I had a name and I had a connection with this world. I repeated over and over again. The wildfires can't burn them out, and the spring breeze blows and they are born again. Daddy laughed and said, you even know this. Only then did I realize. So, how old was I when I died in my previous life before I could sort out the memories in my head? I was taken to register for a hukou. It was so fast. As for my biological mother, it was said that she had damaged a lot of things and had to pay a large sum of money. It didn't matter. I wished she would stay far away from me. I happily let Aunt Xiaoyu hold me in her arms. She seemed to think I was perfect in every way. Clearly, I was skinny with not even a little flesh on my cheeks. I wasn't as good looking as the child next door at all. But in Aunt Xiaoyu's eyes, I was the cutest child in the world. She looked at me with full of love, held me tightly, and couldn't kiss me enough. Our Yeshing is really a gift from heaven. How can she be so cute? Daddy looked a little jealous beside us. He casually said, Xiaoyu, Mu said that children of her age should go to kindergarten. The one that the child of the old Mang family, next door, goes to is quite good. Himu also has a stake in that kindergarten and he can take care of Yesing after she goes there. Aunt Xiaoyu immediately put me down. I looked at her stupidly as she took the brochure from Daddy's hand. Himu is Daddy's younger brother. It is said that he was raised by Grandma. It was also he who suggested sending me to Grandma's place. But Grandma seems to be old and in poor health, and he has been accompanying and taking care of her. I was overwhelmed by his demeanor when I first met him. He looked gentle and refined, and when he smiled, it was like a spring breeze. He gave me a hand-carved wooden sculpture as a gift. Hello, little Yeshing. I'm your uncle. When the adults were chatting, I pretended to be a 3 or 4-year-old child playing with toys beside them. But in fact, I quietly pricked up my ears. Uncle Heimu dropped a bombshell as soon as he opened his mouth. Big brother, I'm the same as this child. We are both illegitimate children. I can empathize with her situation. His next words really shocked me. You and Sister Xiaoyu are busy with work and the child is still young. You don't have that much time and energy, and there will definitely be things you can't take care of on both sides. It would be better to leave Yeshing with me and Grandma, and you can come to see the child on weekends." Aunt Xiaoyu refused without even thinking. Uncle Himu had to stop this topic and instead talked about Grandma's current health. At this moment, however, Aunt Xiaoyu took it to heart. She thought that I should be like other children and go to kindergarten every day singing. The sun is shining brightly in the sky, and I carry my little school bag when I was really sent to kindergarten with a little school bag on my back. I was stunned. I hadn't even enjoyed a few days of a happy childhood yet. "Yusin, Auntie will come to pick you up from school in the afternoon. This is a phone watch. If there's anything, call Auntie." Okay. I opened my mouth wide and stared blankly at Aunt Xiaoyu, who was on the verge of crying in front of me. I stretched out my little hand and touched her cheek. "Aunt Xiaoyu, you go to work well. We'll meet in the afternoon." These past few days, Aunt Xiaoyu has been running around me, piling all the good things in front of me and asking me carefully if I like them. It's as if she's looking at another little girl through me. Her love for me came surging, and I also want to repay her with my best efforts instead of trapping her. Besides, I'm not a real 3-year-old child. It's just going to kindergarten. So, what if I go? I stepped into the kindergarten with a solemn expression on my face, carrying my school bag behind me. Daddy's voice kept urging, "Xiaoyu, look how strong our Yeshing is. Well, come to pick her up in the afternoon. And we still have to have a meeting with President Jiang later. We should go now, just in the morning." I realized that I had thought it too simply. The children in the kindergarten actually knew what an illegitimate child was. I looked at several children whispering to each other and just felt tired. I picked up a doll and walked past them silently. They quickly moved aside as if they would be infected with a deadly virus if they touched me. I became interested and deliberately stood next to them, scaring them into screaming. I looked at them coldly and left a sentence childish. However, the leading little boy, Sun Yan, became even more excited and grabbed me, not letting go. "Who are you calling childish?" I directly sat on the ground and started playing with the doll, wiggling my butt and swaying my waist. Too lazy to pay attention to these little kids. I'm much older than them. They want to isolate me. You must be joking. Who wants to play with them? They cry and sniffle at every turn. And they even ask the teacher to follow them when they go to the toilet. How shameless, seeing that I ignored him. He deliberately walked in front of me and pointed at me with his chubby little finger. "You're an illegitimate child. My mom said that people like your mom are the most disgusting and that she's a mistress. You should. Sun Yan scratched his head, but couldn't say the rest. I kindly completed it for him. "You should be dragged out and shot, and you should be drowned in a pig cage." He laughed happily. "Yes, that's it." I cleared my throat and decided to give them some knowledge. I'm not an illegitimate child. I'm a secretly born child. I glanced at them disdainfully, snorted, raised my chin, and said, "You're so ignorant. It's boring to talk to you. You little kids don't know anything." I was clearly born because my biological mother got pregnant on her own using the essence from the condom the overbearing CEO had discarded. Stealing the essence from the condom, getting pregnant secretly, giving birth to the child secretly and hiding the child secretly. This is called being secretly born. Okay, I'm not an illegitimate child. I looked at the group of little kids in front of me looking dull. I was too lazy to talk to them more. I lifted my leg and walked to a quiet place and sat down again. After school in the afternoon, I carried my little school bag and walked up to Aunt Xiaoyu obediently and held her hand. She asked me softly, "Yeshing, how was your day in kindergarten? Did you make any friends? Did any children bully you?" I answered one by one, blinking my eyes very sincerely. "It was great. I made a lot of new friends, and no one bullied me." I smiled heartlessly. It's just a little squabble among children. It's not worth taking to heart. Except for the situation in the kindergarten. There's happiness everywhere in life. I like the warm scent of Aunt Show the most. I often lie on her body, like a crazy person, take a deep breath, and then exhale slowly, just like a fat cat that has inhaled too much catnip. The ferocious face of Tang Shusher still appears in my dreams, following me like a shadow. The shadow she brought me is no less than the scene of Granny, our stabbing Zui with a needle being replayed. She always suppressed me and bullied me. She said that my birthday was her suffering day, that I wasn't qualified to eat a birthday cake or celebrate my birthday, and that I should cow out and kneel to thank her for giving birth to me. Aunt Sho was silent for a long time after she learned that I had never even eaten a birthday cake. She specially ordered a huge cake for me, which was even taller than me. She let me make a wish and blow out the candles, and she dressed me up like a flower fairy. She invited relatives and friends to celebrate for me, and I stood in the middle of the crowd like a real little princess. She kissed my cheek. Our Yeshing will be happy every day and will never have any worries. I made a wish that Aunt Xiaoyu and Daddy would be happy forever and that I could always be Aunt Xiaoyu's child. She is confident, strong, and gentle, shining all the time. Daddy looks at Aunt Xiaoyu with the same eyes as me, full of deep love and admiration. So when I heard Aunt Xiaoyu being insulted, I lost my temper. I even forgot that if I fought in the kindergarten, I would definitely be asked to invite my parents. I directly pinned down the chubby boy, Sun Yan, and started fighting with him on weekdays. I'm too lazy to pay attention to these children. They have been taught badly by their parents, which is why they are full of dirty words. I'm not stupid. I can feel the piercing gazes around me, full of malice and speculation. When Aunt Xiaoyu takes me to a banquet, they hide in the crowd and whisper, and they make up stories wantingly in the dark corners. In their eyes, our family of 3 is pretending to be happy, and everything is just a false appearance of peace. The words that come out of the mouths of those kindergarten children are the true thoughts of their parents. I still remember when Daddy took me to see Grandma. Grandma looked at me and sighed. The child is innocent after all. My body can still hold on for a few more years. You are busy with work. Usually, you can leave the child with me to raise. Xiaomu can also help out. Uncle Heimu stood aside and smiled to signal. I tugged at the hem of Aunt Xiaoyu's clothes. In the eyes of everyone, I was a troublemaker. So Grandma wanted to take over this hot potato and prevent me from standing between Daddy and Aunt Xiaoyu. However, Aunt Xiao picked me up. She held me up in front of Grandma like she was showing off a treasure. Grandma, old Yeshing, look, she's now shiny and smooth, and her little belly is round. Isn't she completely different from when we first met? Now I'm a round little ball. Aunt Xiaoyu patted my crayon. Shin style. But Yusin performed the Tang poem you just learned for Grandma. I raised my head and looked at the kind old woman in front of me. When I asked her for help the first time we met, I knew we were destined. I obediently started reciting the poem. Goose, goose, goose. Its neck curved towards the sky to sing. After reciting one poem, Daddy took me down from Grandma. Don't crush your grandma. Grandma had a smile on her face, and her silver hair made her look even more kind until we left. Grandma didn't mention raising me again, and at this moment, I was sitting quietly in a corner playing with sand. But Sun Yin just had to run up to me, his eyes filled with malicious provocation. He made faces and giggled. Fu Yeshing, Fu the beast. I didn't care and continued to focus on building a sand castle. I've heard such words so often that my ears are almost calloused. He went even further, trying to make me cry. Your parents will abandon you once they have a younger brother or sister. You're an illegitimate child. It had no real impact on me. Besides, he didn't cry even though he has an illegitimate younger brother. So why should I cry? Out of frustration and anger, seeing that I didn't react. He directly kicked over my sandcastle and even stepped on it a few times with ill intent. I clapped my hands, stood up, and was about to find a quieter place to play. Lin Xiaoyu is a big beast. A fool. The big beast is raising a little beast. I stopped in my tracks, turned around, and looked coldly at the child making faces in front of me. He was only 4 or 5 years old. When he saw my expression, he laughed triumphantly as if he had hit a sore spot and continued to shout loudly. Lin Xiaoyu is a big beast, and the big beast is raising a little beast. I suddenly pounced on him. He was a child, and so was I, and I was even younger than him, having lived a life all over again. Why should I give in to him? There's no need to endure it. He just deserves a beating. I picked up the sand that he had stepped on and smeared it on his face. You fatso full of crap. Your dad keeps a mistress and doesn't want your mom. Your mom is a piece of trash. Even the incinerator would find her stinky. I straddled him, and he was like a turtle that couldn't turn over. Suddenly, I was lifted up and thrown aside. My palms scraped against the ground, and there were traces of blood. Fu yesing, what are you doing? How did the teacher teach you? You're actually bullying other children. Looking at Teacher Wang's indignant appearance, I didn't even want to give her a glance. She had had an issue with me for more than a day or two. I once heard her gossiping behind my back with other teachers. These rich people can even send their illegitimate children outside to study here. That woman is really something. If it were me, I definitely couldn't stand it. At first, I tried to communicate with her, thinking that she was a good teacher who would uphold justice. After all, Uncle Himu had said that he would arrange for someone to take care of me. Teacher, Suinin is bullying me. Can you do something about it? She asked as if watching a show. How is he bullying you? I repeated what Sunyin had said. She said indifferently, isn't that the truth? Children should tell the truth. You are an illegitimate child. Your birth is a mistake. How can you blame others for saying so? Her malice was blatant, and she didn't even bother to hide it. Someone beside her tried to persuade her. Don't go too far. Her father is Fuang. And what if president? He asks about it. She couldn't be bothered and just admired her newly done nails on her own. What are you afraid of? Don't you know that my brother is the principal of the kindergarten? He has a very good relationship with President He. Even if she complains, who will believe her? Children of this age are the best at lying. I'm educating her in advance for her family, making her recognize her own identity. A child like this is rotten to the core. At this moment, Sun Yayan's face was covered in sand, mixed with snot and tears. Looking extremely confounded, Teacher Wang sternly reprimanded me and took sides. You stand here and be punished. I'll ask your parents how they educated you. You don't act like a girl at all. I smiled sweetly. That's just right. I also want to tell my parents that you discriminate against me and keep calling me an illegitimate child. Teacher Wang looked at me resentfully, snatched my phone watch, and directly contacted Uncle Himu. Her voice was affected, and she spoke in an exaggeratedly high pitch. I was taken to the office and made to stand as punishment. The abrasion on my hand was causing bursts of pain. After a while, there was a knock on the door. Teacher, I'm sorry. I'm Yoshing's mother. I didn't educate her well. Please don't be angry. I'll take her home right away and let her reflect on her behavior. It was Tang Shire. She walked up to me, apologized without asking anything, and grabbed my arm, trying to take me away. Teacher Wang didn't even bother to lift her eyelids to look at her. Tang Shire, the woman who gave birth to Fu Yeshing. Right. I know it's really true that a bad leader leads to bad followers. Since you're her biological mother, you can take her away. I immediately realized that something was wrong. She was supposed to call Uncle Himu, so why was it Tang Shusher who came? I shouted loudly and struggled hard, trying to break free from Tang Shusher's grip. If you dare to let her take me away, and Xiaoyu Wentiti let you off. Teacher Wang frowned. What's wrong with letting your biological mother take you away? I tried to continue struggling, but Tang Shusher covered my mouth and dragged me out. I was only a few years old, so naturally I didn't have the strength to resist her. She dragged me to the corner, covered my mouth with a piece of cloth, and I immediately lost my strength and fell limply. I thought I had gotten rid of her, but she was like a ghost, always able to sneak into my life. It was as if she had some kind of cheat code. I even suspected that there was some unknown power helping her achieve her goals. Otherwise, how could we explain that she so easily broke through layers of security and burst into the engagement scene? And now, she knocked me out in the kindergarten. Mom is the one who loves you the most in the world. Mom won't hurt you. Everything is for your own good. You'll be fine after a good sleep. Clearly, she had hurt me the most, but I had completely lost the ability to resist. My hands hung down, and she carried me in her arms and walked outside. She passed through without any obstacles and took me out of the kindergarten. My vision gradually blurred, and finally, I completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, all the small wounds on my palm had been properly treated. Yeshing, you're awake. Does your head still hurt? My eyelids were a bit heavy, and I opened my eyes with difficulty to look at Uncle Hamu in front of me. My voice was a bit horsero. Uncle Hamu, why are you here? He was wearing a light-colored shirt and had a gentle smile on his face. I received a call from Teacher Wang to pick you up from the kindergarten, but I found that you had been taken away. I endured the discomfort and tried to complain. Teacher Wang let Tang Shusher take me away. I didn't agree, but she ignored me. She's not a good teacher. Uncle Hamu picked up a towel beside him and wiped the sweat off my face. It's my fault for entrusting her to take care of Yusin, who knew she was a bad person and made our Yesing suffer. Now the bad person has been driven away by me. When Yesing goes back to school, you won't see her anymore. I nodded. I couldn't really blame Uncle Hamu too much. After all, one can never truly know what's in someone else's heart. But I was still confused about Tang Shusher. Her appearance and disappearance were both very puzzling. What about Tang Shusher? Where did she go? Uncle Hamu said casually. She ran away as soon as she saw me and said that she was wrong and would never appear by your side again. You can rest assured before I could ask some details. Uncle Hymus suddenly made a gesture of hooking fingers and said to me meaningfully, let's keep today's matter as our little secret. Okay, your father and the others are very busy with work and are still on a business trip in another place. Grandma is also not in good health and has been hospitalized recently. If we tell them about this, they will definitely be very worried and angry, and they might even have an accident on their way back. You're already a little grown up now, right? A little grown up can make decisions on their own. He looked at me expectantly. I nodded according to his meaning. Yes, Yesing is already a grown up. He was very satisfied with my performance and continued, I know Yesing is a sensible child. You were bullied in the kindergarten, but didn't tell the family. You're very strong. I think Yeshing definitely doesn't want to cause trouble for the family, right? I continued to nod. He put on a serious face, and his tone became stern. But I also need to criticize Yesing. Fighting is not right. Adults don't like children who fight. Disobedient children will be disliked by adults, especially since Yusin, like Uncle, is an illegitimate child and is more likely to be disliked. So, let's keep today's matter as a little secret between the two of us and not tell anyone. Okay, Uncle will keep Yashin's secret. He coaxed me to agree to him. I showed a big smile on my face, covered my mouth with my hand, and pretended to be surprised. A little secret, a secret between me and Uncle Hamu. We won't tell anyone. When Uncle Hamu saw this, his smile deepened a bit. Yes, it's a secret between Yesing and me, and no one else will know. I cheered and couldn't wait to hook fingers with him. After getting my promise, Uncle Hamu left the ward contentedly. The well-behaved look on my face immediately disappeared, and I cursed in a low voice. Idiot. He really thought I was a 3-year-old child. He didn't even bother to come up with a more reasonable excuse. He directly resorted to intimidation and threat and pretended to be understanding. I don't know what role he played in all these things or what his plans are. At least he's not as simple as he seems. He might very well be a wolf in sheep's clothing. When Daddy and Aunt Xiao rushed back, I told them everything all at once. Aunt Xiao picked me up and kissed me on the cheek. Our Yeshing is so smart. You remembered everything Annie told you last time, right? I raised my chin proudly, feeling extremely proud. I remembered it all. When something happens, I must tell my parents. Anything that can't be told to parents is a lie to children. Combining my words with the evidence they found themselves, they already understood everything. This time, they were nominally on a business trip, but they actually did some other things, such as reinvestigating the incident of Tang Shusher's secret birth back then. After hearing my words, Daddy fell into a state of anxiety on his own. Tang Shusher was like a switch that could intensify his emotions. He paced back and forth in the living room like a trapped animal. Furious, I've always known that this woman is not normal. She's always daydreaming that I like her. I don't even know who she is. What did I do wrong to be entangled by her? She keeps saying that I had feelings for her back then and that I couldn't bear to see her get even a little hurt. Clearly, she deliberately threw herself into my arms, and I instinctively helped her up and then immediately let go. I really shouldn't have done that. I should have just let her fall hard and knock some sense into her head. I searched for the pen you gave me for a long time after it was lost. I even checked the surveillance, and it turned out that she had taken it, claiming it was a token of love who uses a stolen item as a token of love. After she was fired, she applied for a job at a hotel, saying that she wanted to be closer to me. She even rummaged through the things I threw into the trash. Just thinking about that hotel makes me feel sick now. No, the garbage at home has to be disposed of uniformly in the future, and I have to flush even that thing down the toilet myself. I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. He's really had a tough time. In fact, there are even more things he doesn't know. For example, Tang Shusher cut out Daddy's photos from newspapers and magazines, enlarged them, and pasted them all over every wall. There was also a human-shaped pillow of Fu Tingayan on her bed, and the cabinet was stuffed with all kinds of his personal belongings. Buttons, pens, tissues, hair, and even clothes were all stolen. She would say good night to these things every night. The bath towel she stole from the hotel was even something that accompanied her to sleep. She fabricated a love story where she was the female lead, Daddy was the male lead, and Aunt Cho was the evil supporting female character. The affectionate second male lead in her mouth was someone I had never seen in those 3 years, but who was always there for her and selflessly dedicated to her. She repeated and beautified the few times she met Daddy over and over again. She analyzed every look and every action as if with a telescope. In those 3 years, I had heard dozens of versions. In each version, Daddy loved her deeply. Unfortunately, because of Aunt Cho and Grandma, the two evil supporting female characters, she couldn't have a happy ending with Daddy. But she wasn't afraid. She had an ace up her sleeve, which was me. As long as I listened to her, sided with her, and caused trouble, she could drive Aunt Xiaoyu away and save Daddy from the sea of suffering. I casually mentioned 2 or 3 of these things, and Daddy's face completely darkened. He looked as uncomfortable as if he had swallowed a fly, and his face was so dark that it seemed like ink could drip from it. Fortunately, he still had some sense and remembered me. The poor little one. He forced a smile on his face. This time it's my fault making you suffer grievance in the kindergarten. Do you want any compensation? I motioned for him to squat down, patted his shoulder hard, and sighed slightly. Daddy, I don't need compensation. You've already had a tough time. You were targeted out of nowhere, and you got an extra child. Now you found out that your younger brother might be a bad person. It's already very troublesome. Daddy couldn't smile at all now. He lowered his eyes, and finally, he couldn't help but whimper and cry, resting his head on Aunt Xiaoyi's shoulder. It's all because I'm single-minded, rich, and handsome. Aunt Xiao, you casually patted his head. I know you've been wronged hearing this. He cried even louder. I've never cried like that. It's so embarrassing. Aunt Xiaoyu seemed to be quite receptive to this. She spoke softly and comforted him. It made me want to cry a little. 2. We can't act rashly now. We don't want to alert the enemy. Once we've collected all the evidence, I'll help you get revenge. Okay, he mumbled an okay and curled up in Aunt Xiaoya's arms, looking rather pitiful. Because I was bullied, I could lie at home and rest with a legitimate reason without having to worry about anything. Anyway, Daddy was out there taking the lead. I lay in the villa with my feet propped up, leisurely watching SpongeBob SquarePants, and was laughing heartily at Patrick's antics. He's so stupid. Look at how angry he's making Squidward. Suddenly, my biological mother appeared. She was wearing one of the maid's clothes from the house and grabbed my hand. Mommy is taking you away. You must have suffered here. Look at how she's raised you. You're so looking at the flesh on my cheeks and my chubby belly. My biological mother, Tang Shesi, swallowed the rest of her words. I've been raised really well, 1,000 times better than when I was in her hands. Without saying another word, she pulled me and tried to take me away. I was completely stunned and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Help! Someone is kidnapping a child. I've just started living good life and even called Aunt Xiaoyu Mom. How could I let her ruin it?" She covered my mouth, and I tried my best to push her hand away. Then I took a bite. She let out a cry of pain and waved me away forcefully. I curled up and rolled to the ground. Just then, Mom Xiao walked out of the kitchen with a knife in her hand, some white flour on her face. I'd like to see who dares to snatch my daughter. Ignoring the pain from hitting my head, I immediately skewered towards Mom Xiaoyu, hiding behind her. I pointed at Tang Shi and complained. She wants to take me away. Mom looked at Tang Shi and sneered. You managed to sneak in here. Did that affectionate pursuer of yours help you again? Before you dressed up as a cleaner to steal things. And this time you dressed up as a maid. You're really something. The butler and his men arrived immediately. Sorry, it's my fault, Mom said casually. Call the police. We let you go a few times before because we wanted to use you as bait. Now you're no longer useful. So it's better to lock you up and have some peace. Tang Shi immediately became agitated. Why? I came to see my own daughter. Which law prohibits a biological mother from seeing her child? The baby is my child. You can't take her away from me. Also, no one helped me. It's just that heaven took pity on me and couldn't stand your evil act of snatching someone else's daughter. Mom protected me behind her, shook her head, and scoffed. You're so stupid that you're counting the money for the person who sold you. If your brain is useless, you might as well donate it. He really played you for a fool. I don't know what kind of nonsense he fed you, or maybe you were just obsessed. By now, he should have received the news and realized that he's in trouble. Yet, he still had the nerve to send you here to annoy me. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Tang Shi was soon subdued, and she kept yelling, helplessly. In Mom's eyes, Tang Shi was just a puppet in the open, and the real mastermind had always been hiding behind her. Mom calmly went back to the kitchen and put the freshly made cookies into the oven to bake with the rich aroma of milk filling the air. The cookies were ready. Mom took off her apron and said softly, Mommy has something to take care of. I'll be back after you finish these cookies. I immediately put down the cookie in my hand. How could I miss the exciting drama of revealing the true face of the mastermind behind the scenes? I clung to Mom's leg and said coquettishly, You can't live without Mommy. I want to be with Mommy. I rubbed against Mom vigorously, and finally, Mom, helplessly, picked me up from the ground. Okay, we drove directly to the old mansion. Although I had a premonition when I saw Uncle Himu with a trace of disdain on his lips, I still felt a bit dazed. He was completely different from the first time I met him. You're here so soon. The tea isn't even ready yet. Uncle Hymus slowly continued making tea, as if ignoring the tense situation at the moment. He poured himself a cup and sighed leisurely. Tang Shi is so disappointing. I created such good conditions for her. What a pity. Daddy suppressed his anger. He couldn't stand Uncle Himu's leisurely appearance at the moment and raised his hand to knock over Uncle Hu's teacup. I won't say anything about you plotting against me. Grandma treated you so well. She raised you herself. How could you have the heart to do something to her? Uncle Himu lowered his head, a sneer curling at the corner of his mouth, and completely threw off his gentle mask. Good. That old woman treated me well. He suddenly stood up, his eyes fixed on Daddy, his face filled with a cold and menacing look. We were both born to the same father. Why do you get to have the surname Fu while I have the surname He? Since we were kids, everyone knew I was an illegitimate child. Couldn't you hear those people whispering behind our backs? That old woman kept saying that being an illegitimate child wasn't my fault, that it was the sin of our elders, and that she treated me the same as you. But in reality, you're in charge of the company, and I was given some scraps. Who cares about that little bit of money? He kicked over the table in front of him, his eyes red with jealousy, which completely overwhelmed him. Mom hugged me and stepped aside. I whispered in her ear to comfort her. Mom, I am okay. I'm not scared. Uncle. He moved his grievances on his own, sneering and taunting, and suddenly turned his point towards me. This little beast is a gift I gave you. Are you happy? Fuang, you're also a hypocrite. You said you regarded me as your own brother, but in fact, you looked down on me since you despise your illegitimate brother so much. I just had to make sure you also had an illegitimate daughter. He completely peeled off that layer of pretense, unafraid to reveal his true malice. I want to see if you'll become the kind of person you hate the most. You hate fathers who cheat, don't you? Well, now you are one. Looking at this child, does it feel like a thorn in your throat every day? He was like a viper that had been spying in the dark for a long time, now eager to strike a fatal blow. Daddy looked at Uncle Hem's paranoid appearance and said, "Seriously, people are different. I'm not like him. I'll be a good husband and a good father." Uncle Hai seemed to have heard something hilarious and laughed uncontrollably. "Stop pretending. If it weren't for Lin Xiaoyu, you would have thrown this child away long ago. This child is your stain, and you'll never be able to get rid of it. However, I'm also curious, what is it about you that so many women like? Even a woman like Tang Shusher only had eyes for you. She even gave me the good guy card several times. She doesn't even consider if she's worthy." It was as if he had worn his mask for too long, and now that he had reached the end, he just wanted to release his true self, not bothering to pretend even a little bit. Being completely dark was his true nature. Mom hit the nail on the head without showing any mercy because you're like a rat in the sewer, always speculating about others with your dirty thoughts and distorting the truth. Your mother interfered in Ting's mother's marriage and ran away with that man to have a good time, but she left you behind. She was just taking advantage of Ting Xin's mother and grandma's kindness. Grandma raised you, but you always had to compete with Ting Xin for everything. You even coveted the shares that Ting Xin's mother left for him. They thought you were just being naive, but I don't think so. You're just too greedy and jealous. Your misfortune has nothing to do with us. The blame lies with the right people. If you have the guts, go take revenge on your scumbag father and your mistress mother instead of picking on the weak. Tining and Grandma never owed you anything. People like you deserve to live in the dark all your life. You don't deserve others' kindness. You're so heartless that you even had the heart to hurt a child. The corner of Uncle Jaime's mouth twitched up slightly and a chill spread in his eyes. Lin Xiaoyu, you're not much better. You're just a little beggar who crawled up from the bottom, not even knowing who your own parents are. Yet, you're showing off here if it weren't for this fool Fu Tingxin who took a fancy to you. Do you think you could be where you are today? Daddy said in a deep voice, "You're wrong. Even if Xiaoyu hadn't met me, she would have made a name for herself. Given the current situation, it's me who's sorry for her. I brought her a lot of trouble and got her involved in all this mess." Mom took Daddy's hand and said softly, "Don't say that. Now I have you, Grandma. And are you? I feel very happy." Mom seemed to think of something and took my little hand and waved it at Uncle Himu. "Heaven thanked you yet. Thank you for bringing Yeshing to me. I really like her." Uncle Hai Mu's face began to contort and he gritted his teeth. "Lin Xiaoyu, stop pretending to be magnanimous. I don't believe that any woman wouldn't be jealous when she sees her husband's illegitimate child. Stop pretending. I'm not as lovesick as Fu Tingxin. I'm not falling for this." I shouted, "Don't you dare talk about my mom like that. You're judging a gentleman with the heart of a villain. Mom is a true gentleman, and you're a true villain." Uncle Hem snorted and sneered. "You're just as stupid as your dad. You've been deceived by her. This woman is a viper in a beautiful shell, eating people without spitting out the bones." I ignored his attempts to sow discord. I only know that Mom picked me up, fed me, gave me a name, and gave me a home. Mom is the best person in the world in my eyes. Some people say that a gentleman is judged by his actions, not his thoughts. Even if Mom were the villain in a story, I would still be willing to give everything for her, even if it means dying. Mom quickly covered my mouth and stopped me. Children don't know how to speak properly. "Spit, spit, spit." I pushed Mom's hand away. "Mom, don't worry about it. I just want him to know that not everyone is like him. He doesn't have good parents, but I do." Thinking that I was the result of his conspiracy, I couldn't help clicking my tongue twice and shaking my head at him. He had really trapped himself and brought shame upon himself. I bet he's going crazy with jealousy. I have everything that he never got. He wanted me to replicate his life, using my existence to prove that Daddy and Mom were just as despicable as him, that his experience was normal. and that everyone would treat an illegitimate child the same way. But even if mom and dad didn't want to raise me, that would be understandable. However, when they did raise me, he was immediately deeply stimulated. After all, his biological parents eloped for love and left him, the fruit of their love, directly with the original wife. He grew up with grandma and delusionally hoped to receive the same love and material things as my dad. How could that be possible? He must have had his head kicked by a donkey. How could the family business built by my biological grandma be given to him? He didn't dare to take revenge on the real culprits. So, he targeted our family. I pointed at his head and tilted my head to look at Daddy. Daddy, do you think there's something wrong with his head? Why is he so stupid? He's nothing like you. You're so tall, mighty, handsome, and rich. Daddy coughed lightly, adjusted his shirt collar, and looked a bit proud. Do you really think so highly of me? I gave him a thumbs up. Of course, you're Mom Xiao's carefully selected choice. He looked at Mom Xiao with a hint of embarrassment. Well, that's true. Mom glared at him, and he immediately returned to a serious expression and got back to the point. Mu Xiaoyu and I have already figured out everything about you and Tang Shi. You started setting up this scheme several years ago. First, you drugged me, but it ended up bringing Xiaoyu and me closer instead. Then, you settled for the next best thing and hit it off with Tang Shi. You stole that thing and made Tang Shi pregnant and give birth to a child. And you've been by Tang Shi's side as an affectionate pursuer for the past few years. You arranged for Tang Shi to show up at the right time to disrupt the engagement ceremony, trying to distract us and cover up the fact that you colluded with other shareholders to profit from the chaos and that you drugged Grandma. But you made one oversight. You cleared the way for Tang Shi, making it too easy for her to get around. This made people even more suspicious and made them wonder how Tang Shi managed to do all this, and if there was another person pulling the strings behind her in a desperate attempt. You made Tang Shi sneak into the kindergarten to drug and take Yeshing away, but then a passerby called the police, thinking Tang Shi was a child trafficker. I don't even know what to say about you. I'm too lazy to talk about you. You can go to jail and repent on your own. As for Grandma, I'll tell her that you, just like your parents, eloped with someone and ran off all over the world. Mu listened to Daddy's analysis of the situation and remained indifferent. I was so engrossed in listening that I tried to discuss with him his last act of kidnapping me. So, did you make her kidnap me from the kindergarten out of jealousy because I'm happier than you? If I had stayed with this biological mother, would have been doomed sooner or later. Mom was quick to react. She turned with me in her arms to avoid the danger, and then there was a whooshing sound. Mu was kicked flying. I let out a whoop. I clicked my tongue inside. What a pity to become a criminal. The matter finally came to an end, and the truth that had been buried for several years was revealed. Great-grandma was recovering in the hospital because she was discovered in time, after hearing that Himu had eloped for love and didn't even leave a message. She was a bit sad. To make great-grandma happy, I went to tell her stories every day. Unexpectedly, this revealed the fact that I knew a lot of characters even though I hadn't received systematic education. In fact, I had already revealed this during the confrontation with Himu, but there were so many things going on that Daddy didn't have time to pay attention to me at that moment, and I didn't expect it either. Now he was like he had discovered a new world and couldn't wait to send me to school immediately. He took my hand affectionately and said, "You, do you want to study with other children? Or should Daddy hire a few teachers for you?" He looked at me expectantly as if the next second I would say goodbye to SpongeBob SquarePants and sit at the desk reading aloud. I let out a wail and scrambled towards the study. "Help! Mom, Yesing doesn't want to go to class. I'm only 4 years old. Which 4-year-old child has to go to class? I don't care anymore how old I was when I died in my previous life. I only know that my name is Yesing. In this world, I experienced a spring rain and was reborn, now that I'm only 4 years old. My biggest wish is to be with Mom and Dad for the rest of my life and to be able to watch a few episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants every day. As for going to class, that's something for when I'm 7 years old after hearing the story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you like this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.